she's singing it. So we are welcome to this edition of Wonders of Africa. Today we'll be going to 5 different countries. We're starting with Ghana, Kwame. Then Ghana, then we do Zambia, then we go Brazil, then we do Zambia, then we do Uganda, then we end up in Berlin. So we are starting now from Ghana. One of the most interesting persons you ever get to know about in tourism in Africa is this man from Ghana. I have people I call the octopus. They have hands in almost everything that happens in travel, aviation, tourism, tour packaging, travel business. And we have one in Nigeria. And the Ghana version of it today, you will see my big guy there, Kwame Ansong. He represents Sunseekers. They've won quite a lot of awards since they started those Ghana Tourism Awards. This year, he has won 2 awards already. Kwame is a legend. He's one of the great guys in travel and tourism in Africa. So, Oga Kwame, you're welcome. You know, when I greet people like you, I have to bow and tremble because I can't just greet you like that. You have to bow and tremble. But you've achieved quite a lot in tourism. Today, you'll be talking about Ghana. So before you start, yes, the lighting is better that way. Before you start, we want to introduce a video. And after the video, then we will have you come on and talk a little bit about what Sunseekers does, and we'll take it from there. So sit back. Put your audio, cut the audio there. Yeah, Bossman, beautiful Ghana. I didn't know Ghana was that beautiful. I haven't been everywhere now. I'm seeing places I didn't know existed in Ghana. Why are you hiding these ones from me?
Good afternoon, Oga Ikechi, and good afternoon, everyone. From Ghana, the center of the world. My name is Kwame Ansong. As my Oga Ikechi said, it's a pleasure to be with you presenting this afternoon on Ghana. I see my big brother Ahmed on the as one of those watching. So I'm sure information to add. But let me say a very big thank you for the opportunity. Like my brother Akechi said, some of us live and sleep and eat hospitality. So we are associated with hotels, in tourism, and airlines. We represent a few airlines also in Ghana, in the GSA business. You heard me say
Which
center
are
of
these
the world.
airlines?
Why do
Which
I?
are these airlines? These airlines
Okay.
to represent.
Okay. So we represent online, we represent Sky Airlines. We represented Kronos Airlines out of Equatorial Guinea. We have we also represent Qantas from Australia, which is an offline, but every Qantas flight has a relationship with Emirates, and until recently, we had China Southern also coming as part of the GSS, but they've more or less withdrawn from Africa at the moment, or from hotels. We have a couple of hotels. Accra City Hotel, we are on the board. We are shareholders in Accra City Hotel. It's a 4-star hotel in Accra. Forman Hotel and Sun Lodge Hotel, and then of course Sunseekers Tours, which is one of the largest companies in Ghana and a multi-award-winning one. Now, so that's by way of introduction. I've been in tourism since 1994. So I'm going almost 26 years in the business. So it's a labor of love, the ups and downs, but it was pushing. And better. So let me just go straight into my presentation. Let me just say, I said center of the world. Why do I say center of the world? Because Ghana has longitude 0, or the Greenwich Meridian, going through Ghana. So we are on GMT in Ghana. through it. So we are technically in the center of the world. This afternoon, as you can see, Ghana has a lot to offer. Why the two of Assin, Manso, and Cape Coast Castle are very much linked to one of our main products, which is heritage and cultural tourism. I think most of you heard about Ghana's Year of Return and our Beyond the Return initiative. This is one of the hallmarks of Ghana's tourism product, which is not only for African Americans, but Africans and Caribbeans, African diaspora, and generally Africans in general, because Ghana has been a freedom fighter or leader of the freedom movement all over Africa. So we beckon to our kids and kin, our brothers and sisters all over the world, all over Africa, all over the world in the diaspora to come and visit the motherland, visit Ghana. So it's not only for Africans in the diaspora, but also for fellow Africans. A lot of you, as you look at your independence history or the struggle of your independence, I'm sure you hear about Ghana one way or the other playing a role, either through mentoring your freedom, the leaders who led to your independence, or some of them coming to school, like in most of the Anglophone West African countries. They got trained in Ghana and then later went back to their countries to become leaders. So Ghana is home for everybody, and we hope that by the end of this presentation, you will see yourself seeing Ghana as a second home for you. Also, we chose the Kakum National Park for very, very interesting reasons. Because it shows for us that Ghana has more than culture and history to offer. It has bird watching, it has ecotourism, it has sights and sounds, it has certain experiences. I see that we started with the Kakum National Park. We have an award-winning canopy walkway, which was the first of its type in West Africa. Since then, a few others have come up. It's up for argument, but we believe it's the highest. It also gives you forest trekking opportunities for those who don't want to go up on the canopy walkway. And it's got really, really unique bird watching opportunities. That's one of Ghana's best kept secrets. It's a very big bird watching destination for those of us who are interested in that, and ecotourism. And we have a very unique form of ecotourism, which is community-based, which is very based on responsible tourism. So the various communities we practice ecotourism in are open to having the visitors and the tourists come, because they benefit firsthand. They supply some of the basic crafts and the snacks and the refreshments. At the same time, you also get to, at the first hand, they benefit from the tourism receipts because they have a share in all of that. So that is one thing, maybe if you are not very sure about. Ghana is very big on conservationism, very big on ecotourism also, apart from our main cultural and heritage products. So that's a canopy walkway. Beyond that, we have Assin Manso, which is an ancestral, the ancestral river sites. Now, what is so unique about this is that Ghana, through research by UNESCO, found out that we were at the heart, or we were the major been named the Slave River because it was where the slaves who trekked maybe from present-day Mali, Burkina Faso, for River's color has a reddish hue. And legend has it that it's because of the blood of the ancestors that have, if you can see, it's got a brownish reddish hue. This doesn't really show too much, but it's got a reddish hue. And if you look at the rocks, they've all got a pinkish and reddish hue. And this is not due to salt, but it's due to the legend of so many African Americans. Ikechi, if your team can go back and I'll walk the team through, this was just like as an introduction. So this slave river has acted as a very, very strong and important part in the past in the infamous slave trade. At the same time, Ghana in 1998 set up this site with the first 2 tombs that were of enslaved Africans that were reburied there on August 1st, 1998, as part of the first Emancipation Day celebration. Ghana celebrates Emancipation Day every year together with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. So every August 1st, we have Emancipation Day celebrations in Ghana. Now, these tombs are for 2 former enslaved Africans. The one to the left is from a lady called Crystal, who was reinterred from Jamaica, and the one to the right is for a tomb of an unknown enslaved African. In the late 90s, there was it was found that Wall Street in New York was undergoing some major redevelopment, and it was found that it was an old slave grave site. So a lot of graves were brought up of former enslaved Africans. And so Ghana requested for and was granted one of these our former ancestors to be reinterred in Ghana. Recently, too, as part of the Year of Return, the people of Barbados came and also reinterred a former Barbadian slave who had gained her freedom. And it's because the people of Barbados and many of the Caribbeans view Ghana as their default home from where they left into slavery. So this is a very important site. And this is the site where we have the annual Emancipation Day celebrations because of the fact that we reinterred our brothers and sisters here. This memorial wall of return is something that we always encourage anyone who visits Assin Manso to sign their name for posterity, because you never know when your grandkids will come back and say that my granddad was here, my father was here, and you see a couple of Africans from the diaspora putting on their name for posterity. So this wall of return is one of the experiences that you get once you visit Assin Manso. And then, of course, we have all kinds of reverential events we have. There's a trek. It's maybe about 15-minute walk from where you have the ancestral graves to where the actual river is. So we trek through this forest, and it tells you some of the treks our ancestors went through. So this shows some pictures of some going there and some Africans in the diaspora visiting. And most of them tend to come with little bottles and pick up some of and fetch some of the water and pick up some soil and take it back home to bring closure for them returning successfully to their motherland. This is an African from diaspora who is maybe about to fetch water and also maybe saying a prayer to the ancestors. So it's a very emotional and very, very significant part of almost every journey. And this is some of a group who have possibly come and are walking towards from the memorial wall to the ancestral grave site. So this was a very important part of the whole trek from the hinterland onto the coast to the dungeon. So this is some clients and some African Americans, brothers and sisters, walking down to the Slave River. And as you can see, the red and black show about the fact that it's very, very, it's a site of mourning. And in Ghana, if you wear red or black, it means you are in mourning. So these are all significant, and all these bamboo trees lined up with red and black are all symbolic of the fact that this is a site of that was not a site where we had a lot of joy, but it's a site that you must visit, just like the Jewish people visit Auschwitz. This is one of the sites that any African, an African in the diaspora must visit, as apart from visiting the various castles and forts strewn around along the coastline of Ghana and West Africa. So this is a very unique site beyond what we have in other countries. Then, of course, after they left the Assin Manso, they were kept a couple of weeks there, fattened them up. For the slave raiders and the slave traders never really came into the hinterland. They came and bought, and then they transported our brothers and sisters down to the coast. The Cape Coast Castle is one of about 45 forts and castles, some say 50, of various sizes that were built and existed on Ghana's coastline and became part of the infamous slave trade. In total, there were about 65 to 70 across all of West and Central Africa. And this Cape Coast Castle is the second largest, but we chose it because of a lot of history of it. The Cape Coast Castle used to be the seat of government. And if you look above that, there's a staircase in a triangular form. Those quarters above there were where the governor of the Gold Coast lived. Now, the people of Cape Coast Castle served as the seat of government for the British colonial rulers till 1877, when they relocated to Ghana, to Accra, to the Christiansburg Castle, which later became seat of government till 1957, when they handed over to Ghana, and it became seat of government for the government of Ghana to 1997, to 2007. Sorry, this is the courtyard of the Cape Coast Castle, and it has the graves of a number of former governors and high-ranking officials of the British colonial forces. These were canons that have been preserved for the Cape Coast Castle was completed in 1652 by the Swedes. Later went to the Danes, and then later became the seat of government for the British when the Danes sold all their possessions in Africa to the British. So these canons have a history of being a way in which the castle was being defended. And this shows a courtyard. I believe we're going to go to the other pictures, which shows this is the female dungeon and part of the female dungeon. So these are some people being taken through the history and what the female dungeon was all about. This is the infamous door of no return, which is now the door of return. This was the door through which, if you went through, you went straight down a narrow stairs onto the ships to be transshipped to the Caribbean and to the Americas. We were not supposed to return, but it's now the door of return for those of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who have made the journey back. So it used to be called the door of no return. Now it's the door of return. One side says door of no return, the other side is the door of return. So it's a very, very, it was the last places where the footsteps of our ancestors in the diaspora went through. One of the earlier slides showed a cell. This was called the condemned cell. Now, this condemned cell was used to cover or to put everybody into submission. Any recalcitrant or slaves who tried to resist or revolt, they were kept in this cell. It was a condemned cell, and they were kept there till they died with no food. It was just to starve them to death. And when they died, their bodies were brought out for the other slaves to see. This is what happens if you try and revolt. So this cell, it's actually the condemned cell. It just says cell now, but it was a condemned cell then. It was called the condemned cell. And it's got a lot of very, very eerie feeling if you go through this, and also through the dungeons. You really have a very eerie feeling. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's got various interpretations depending on where you sit, whether you are African in the diaspora, you are African on the continent, or you are a Caucasian. We have different interpretations, but it's a very important site, UNESCO World Heritage Monument. And so you can't come to Ghana without visiting Cape Coast Castle, visiting Kakum National Park, and also learning more of the history of our ancestors. Because you'll be surprised that a lot of the African Americans and Africans in the Caribbean who trace their roots into West Africa don't come from Ghana. Ghana was more of the transit point. And there are certain ethnic groups in present-day Ghana whose job it was, they were just warriors. They didn't farm, they didn't fish, they were just warriors. And they went out as far afield as present-day Nigeria, present-day Mali, present-day Sierra Leone, Liberia. And all they did was that they just went to war, captured, and walked them down for weeks and weeks and weeks, instead of killing their captives and then sold them into slavery, brought them into present day. That's why there were so many forts and castles on our coastline, because so whether you are from Nigerian ancestry, yes, there were the Bagadri fort and all the other forts in Benin and Cotonou and the like. But maybe for all you know, some of our ancestors were brought into Elmina and Cape Coast because they were the two largest forts and holding places in all ever built on the coastline of Africa and West Africa especially. So it has history for each and every one of us, whether you were from present-day Angola and the like. You may have some history because maybe the slave ship may have come from Angola, came up this way, and on the way to the Americas and the Caribbean. So I think this brings me to the end of the three destinations I want to.
Ghana.
Yes.
And I was just enraptured, as it were, just listening to you tell us you are not just the CEO. You probably started as a tour guide. You led us through a wonderful part of the story. And the Slave River is an interesting part of the story most of us didn't know. We have all been to Cape Castle, Cape Coast, Kakum, and the rest of them. But the sad story of having to walk through and all the way to the coast, that's what is new to most of us. And about all the castles in Ghana, yeah, Ghana was a transit point, and that's why it's well protected. I went to Assin, and I saw a massive castle there too that had an underground passage.
Absolutely.
Down. Ghana had all these complexes, and he also made a point that a lot of people ignore. All the slaves were harnessed from everywhere and transshipped from Ghana. So it's also possible some Ghanaians might be Angolans, some Ghanaians might be Nigerians. So
absolutely,
that I didn't get taken, stayed back, and quite a lot to learn. Before I take you to your outside station, I will want to play the video of what Ghana is doing, and it's the most successful project done by any African country in the last 1 year. The Year of Return project, amazing, 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 amazing. That's the only way to describe how Ghana was able to take control of that project and unite Africa with the diaspora. I know you want to talk about Togo and what they are really putting in Togo, but we might not have time for that.
That's fine. That's fine.
You are part of the Year of Return project. Before we play the video, can you share with us some of the things that led Ghana to do that and some of the successes in a very short time?
Okay. Okay, Kechi. So basically, for many of you, maybe you may not know, but Ghana's flag has a black star in the middle. And the black star is Marcus Garvey's black star. Our national airlines, our national shipping line used to be called the Black Star Line. Our founding president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, went to school in Lincoln University in the late 1800s in the US. And most of our leaders at that time were being trained in the UK and in Europe. However, he went to school in Pennsylvania, in Lincoln University, and he had a lot of interaction and a lot of friends that molded his whole idea of going for independence, fighting for independence. And at the time of independence, anybody and everybody who meant anything in the Black world was part of Ghana's independence, from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to Maya Angelou to Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who was then the leader and the founder of the NAACP, National Association of Advancement of Colored People. He was invited to live in Ghana to start Encyclopedia Africana, together with another person who was from the Caribbean. It was a father of Pan-Africanism called George Padmore. He was from present-day Trinidad and Tobago. So all these people were brought in, and at the time of independence, which was in 57, we didn't have all the skill set, but we had African-American dentists, head of broadcasting. We had a lot of African-Americans brought in. That started Ghana's whole belief in Pan-Africanism and our affinity with Africans in the diaspora and Africans in the continent. This led to Panafest in 1992 under the presidency of our illustrious leader, Fire Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who we just lost in about a week and a half ago, who died just a week and a half ago. And Ghana, since the 1950s, has been reaching out to Africans in the diaspora. Then we came about Panafest, and we invited our people, our brothers and sisters, to come and see Ghana as second home. Then we had the Joseph Project, which was launched in the early 2000s, and is based on the proverbial Joseph, who was sold into slavery and returned to help his brothers and sisters, his kith and kin. The Joseph Project was in 2007 as part of Ghana's 50th anniversary of independence. And these are all the precursors that led to what we found with the Year of Return. So Ghana has always been looking for ways in which we can associate with the Africans in the diaspora. Then we heard about the US Congress passing a regulation called Regulation LI, I think 1644, which is based on the fact that it was given African Americans and Africans a chance to realize that they have a home, and it's 400 years since they were sold into slavery, and this was the beginning of the Year of Return. So it was meant to celebrate 400 years of Africans in the diaspora. So that is basically how the Beyond the Return started. And based on that, there's Beyond the Return, which is a 10-year project, which is taking place from 2020 to 2030. So I'm sorry I went over, but I wanted to give a background about how the Year of Return came to be about.
Okay, no, we wanted you to talk while we play the video of the Beyond the Return.
Yeah, so that's a new initiative. It's a 10-year. Your Year of Return was 1 year, but the president said, you know what happens after the Year of Return? So this is a 10-year initiative, which involves all of Africa, and it's called Beyond the Return from 2020 to 2030. So I think you can play the video now, please, just 44 seconds, and you can start it from the beginning, and then with the volume, and then we can just end it. Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcome you to Ghana over this next 10 years. Thank you, Oga Ikechi.
Okay, share your details, phone numbers and emails that you want people to contact you, people who want to connect with Ghana. So you just write it in
the chat.
Sticker. Yeah, just type it in the chat so other people can see.
Sure,
so
most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely, we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you. So if you can please play that video again. It says we all have to stay home now, but we welcome you back to Ghana, center of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Play with.
Culture, rhythm, and warmth.
Allow it.
The clock is ticking. You stayed at home and we missed you. We know you miss us too. The bubble of the night, the dance moves, the beach baths, the food, and of course the smiles of the people. Keep staying at home. Sunny days will soon be back. And we will welcome you to our beautiful land of gold, a land of culture, rhythm, and warmth. This too is passing soon as we go beyond the return.
It was an amazing time. I have questions for you, but no problem. We can chat about it. I will go